I don't know if you can see this behind me, but it says, "What is work?" I think I got to change my lighting here in the office at night. Anyhow, what is work? What I'm doing tonight is basically paying homage to um, Labor Day, which is tomorrow. The reason why I'm not doing it tomorrow is because, like a lot of other people, I'm not going to be barbecuing, cooking meat on the barbecue. I am working, and not for someone else per se. So, right now, I want to say here's a toast to the workers. Um, Historically, Labor Day is for the working folk in the United States, and I know they have similar holidays in other countries. Um, I think it started from the union movement. My father was in the union his whole working life. I was in a union for part of my career. My feelings and beliefs about collectivism, unions, things like that, I may cover in a different video. But for right now, I want to celebrate Labor Day and celebrate the working class and people that are involved with that. Um, so, what is work? Now, in physics, it's an energy transfer from one point to another. In engineering, physics, whatever, uh, transfer of energy. In economics, what is work? It is related to survival of society. If everybody quit working, probably we would all croak in a pretty short period of time if people weren't um, slaughtering cattle for meat, weren't pulling fruit from trees, things like that, building cars, everything would come to a halt. So our exchange of work makes us not only work towards wealth, but also survival. It's an exchange of value. My time, my efforts comes back to me in the form of salary or income or hourly rate. More existentially, it's meaning. Hopefully, whatever we do for our daily salt lick, our daily income, our daily bread, has some sort of meaning beyond just our sweat of our brow. And again, I'm familiar with the working movement. I was a member of a union at one time in my career. My dad was his probably 99% of his career. So I celebrate those who work and the effort they put forward. In my career, I have worked for different levels of what you call, um, I don't know, social economics, social strata, whatever. I have worked for an hourly wage. I have been part of a union. I have worked with my hands. I worked for the Parks Department in a city when I was in high school. Also, a busboy. They don't have those anymore. But anyhow, you clean tables in a restaurant. When I worked for the Parks Department for the city, I pulled weeds. I got dirty. I cut trees. I cut grass, things like that. Um, I went to college and got a degree. I worked in white collar areas. I worked in a cubicle. I did analyses. I've been in management. I've been a lead. I've been a supervisor, things like that. I've been an owner of a business in my career. I've done all things. But for this video, what I want to do, this is twofold. Number one, this is my first uh, live video, and I just kind of sprung it on you. I didn't give a prior announcement that I'd be doing this, so I'm also learning how to do a live. Not the best video in the world. This is on my laptop with a built-in camera. As you can tell from compared to my other videos, this is fairly grainy. Sorry for that. I hope you can hear me. The audio should be fairly good. Um, in my career, I have gratitude for my fellow workers. I remember times that I've worked in an hourly situation, minimum wage, struggling, hoping for more hours just to be able to pay rent and put food on the table. Uh, my fellow workers that taught me skills to help me go forward in those particular fields. Also for the camaraderie, um, the great times I've had with people that I worked like in the parks department. Um, I actually look forward to it, not necessarily for the work. I enjoy the work because at the end of the day, I could look at what I've done and I actually made a contribution. That felt really good. But I worked with people, and in this situation, a bunch of guys, and they kept me entertained. We had fun. It was more than just making the dollar at the end of an 8-hour day. Same thing in all levels of work I've done. I've enjoyed the people I've worked with. When I was in aerospace, I made a lot of friends there. Um, I have learned different kind of cultures, different ways of thinking. I mean, there was a lot of benefit to it besides just the income. Yeah, you have benefits. You have sick leave and vacation time and, working towards your retirement, things like that. But honestly, in my career, I'm thankful for the people that I've worked with. I've worked with some great people. I've worked with not so great people, but the people that were really great, I will remember them forever. I have gratitude for management, and I've worked with some, just like everything else. You work with good, you work with bad, male, female. Um, excuse me. Uh, I'll give you a couple examples of some stellar managers. I'll give you three. And I think he's passed away, so I think it's okay I use his name. His name was Clay Seal. When I started to work at a particular company, he looked at my experience and my education, and he looked at me in the eye and said, "You are way underpaid for your value." And as long as I worked with him, I was getting 2 hits a year. One was a merit meaning a raise for your contribution, basically your merit. The other was promotions to different levels because I started at the very bottom level, even though my previous work experience was a higher level. I mean, he really worked for me, and it wasn't just for me; it was other people in our group as well. He helped promote them. Um, the company I worked for before this is in aerospace. The company I worked before I worked for this particular company. I had a manager that really supported his people. I remember having an eye-opening experience with this man. His name is Bob Burrows, and he passed away as well. When he came to our group to manage our group, he was an ex-military guy, big dude, big bear of a guy, booming voice. He was someone who, could speak to a group of people and not need a microphone. Really deep, really loud, and in many ways came across as we were starting to think that he was a hatchet man. He was going to come to the group to cut out some of the fat in the group, which he did, which I'm thankful for because we had some people in the organization that were really dragging us down to move forward. But that's neither here nor there. But I remember whenever this was in a CAD CAM support, CAD meaning computer aided design, CAM computer aided manufacturing. This was back in the mid to late 80s. And every once in a while we would have system wide problems and the phones would ring off the hook. Now he had engineering background and he could help out somewhat. But he wasn't versed as my team was as far as doing support. And he would come out of his office and pick up the phones and start answering them, even if he had to put them on hold for one of some team member in my group to help out. But man, I tell you, I was really impressed. He would come out running to help with the phones. And a lot of managers I've worked for, and then other people I've worked for, were basically, when the what hits the fan, they close the door and they do their work, which, I respect that. They have stuff they have to do, but he was a team player. And if you look up a definition team player, you might see his face there. I don't know. But yeah, Bob was a great guy in that respect. And I remember one time when it was really quiet, when we weren't having the phones ringing off the hook, he came to my group, my little group, and said, what one thing can you change that would help with your job? In other words, how can I help you do better at your job as a group? And it was unanimous. We all said, hey, headsets, we hold the phones to our ears all day long, very uncomfortable, it's hard to type, because we worked on consoles, hard to type, hard to do other things, hard to write, to do anything when you've got one hand being used by holding a handset to your ear. And after he left, we thought well, that's great. We gave our 2 cents. It probably will go in one ear and out the other. When we came in the next morning, what was sitting on each of our desks in front of our keyboard was a brand new, never used headset that wasn't paid for out of budget in the company, nothing else. This was something he did overnight. He was like Santa. He bought out of his own pocket, pulled out his own wallet to buy us headsets. So that day we opened those packages up, plugged them into our phones, and we became more productive. That is the kind of manager, supervisor, lead, whatever you want to call these people that are over you. These are the kind of people that should be honored. He did a great job and helped us do our job better. There's another one. This is the last one. We had Clay Seal. We had Bob Burrows. And this person, I don't remember. He wasn't part of my organization. He was in the room, or the bay, or the room, whatever you want to call it, next to me in another company I worked for. We had an unusual heavy rain one day, and it happened during lunchtime when a lot of people were out of the office going to lunch. And the building we were in, for some reason, I guess because it just couldn't handle the downpour, the roof was breached from all the water getting backed up. This was in a construction, not a construction. It was an office / production area for engineering. And I was in my area, and IT guys tend I was in IT, information technology, computing. We tend to work through lunch and eat our lunch at our desk and do our stuff, get caught up with things we need to do. And someone ran over and said, and we heard the rain. I mean, you could hear, this is a metal building, you could hear it pounding on the roof. And we were just thinking, wow, we haven't heard that in this building before. I hope it's draining, that's kind of things went through our mind. And someone ran over and said, we need some help. Water is coming through the ceiling, coming through the roof. I mean, we came around the corner, and I kid you not, it was waterfalls coming through the ceiling. And if you know anything about water with those fake tiles, the fake ceilings that they have in a lot of areas, all it is metal hanging, and then they have these white acoustical tiles hanging around. When that gets wet, it's like a giant spitball. It just turns into like paper pulp. I mean, it's disgusting, and it's everywhere. And whatever went from the roof, what was on the roof, what went through the roof, through that space in between, got picked up by the water. It was gross. And So there's just a handful of us that are around that can do this. A couple of the engineers stayed behind. We were frantically moving telephones. Yes, they have wired telephones back there, and engineering workstations, which are high-end computing uh, PCs and terminals, large high-def screens back in the day. And we were in a panic trying to get these things moved out of the way so they wouldn't be damaged. There was a manager that was in that area, full suit, the whole bit. He ripped off his coat, he rolled up his sleeves literally and started helping us move these heavy. Back in the day, those computers were extremely heavy. They weren't like, your iPhone or the Apple Mini that probably weighs a few ounces. I mean, these things were heavy duty, heavy machines. And he came out and started helping us move them away from the water, getting them off the floor, getting them onto the desks so that they would not be water damaged. And I remember when we got them all out of the way, the water was still pouring from the ceiling. And I said, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Because I said, you know what? In this company, I won't mention any names, in this company, most managers wouldn't give a crap. And you just saved us thousands of dollars of hardware, thousands of dollars of downtime for these engineers to be able to do their job because we were able to salvage this hardware from being destroyed by water. So anyhow, there are managers, okay, or worker bees. They're worker bees too. I got to tell you, managers, they work for a salary. They work for someone else, just like, blue collar folks do. All right. And finally, last but not least, for entrepreneurs and owners of companies, I have worked for some small companies. I have worked for restaurants, small restaurants, mom and pop places, things like that. These people are bringing value to the market, whether it's a restaurant and you're serving customers for food, you're attracting people to an area for them to go shopping in other places. You're bringing money into the area, and also by hiring people, having a business, you are also helping people with their livelihood. Soon after I graduated college, thank God I worked for this, because when I first got out of college, I didn't get into graduate schools that I wanted to get into. And then I thought, I got to figure out a way to support myself. Before I got into doing computing for a living, I was looking for some stopgap so I could, pay for my living expenses, a roof over my head, utilities, taking care of my car, going to the grocery store, things like that. And minimum wage jobs just wouldn't cut it. I mean, they were never designed to do that. They won't today. They didn't yesterday. They won't tomorrow. Okay. You're not going to get a living wage out of those kind of jobs. That's just a fact of life. And if you have a heartburn with me saying that, just get over it. There was someone, I was turned on by my sister and brother-in-law about a place that did import export business, and they were primarily into the island motif, palm trees, seashells, things like that. And their primary customer was places like either hobbyists or back in the day, any restaurants that had a Hawaiian motif, like seafood restaurants, things like that. And the owner of the company gave me a chance. There was no moving up. There was no promotions, things like that. But he paid more than minimum wage. I enjoyed what I did. It was very simple. When you think about labor, you think about physical body work, right? And I remember once in a while we get a delivery in a large truck of bundles of bamboo, and people use bamboo for different things, for decorations. Like I said, Hawaiian motif for seafood restaurants, things like that. That was really popular back in the day. These bundles of bamboo are extremely heavy, especially when they're green. We physically, without machines, unloaded large container trucks, trailers. Sometimes we had to unload them when they were still on the street because they couldn't get into our yard because we had so much product in the yard. And operating a forklift to try to balance this through a gate over the gate. Okay, the gate's only so many feet wide, but these bundles of bamboo are like 20 feet long, and you have to get them over there. Well, to use a forklift, you didn't have the ability to go lengthwise and go through that small hole. You had to lift it up over the fence and the street and the driveway. It wasn't exactly the smoothest in the world. So learning how to operate a forklift without tipping over and dumping the supply of bamboo and killing myself took some time. But anyhow, we did that. We did all sorts of things. We had to treat the seashells, clean them up so that we could, once they got dried and clean, they could be put out for whatever reason. Because when seashells come in, they're pretty nasty. I mean, they're full of all sorts of sea stuff, seaweed and dirt and everything else. But I am thankful. I can't remember his first name to save my soul, but his last name was Benson. The name of the company was Benson Imports. And he gave me a chance. So I was making more than minimum wage for doing something that wasn't in my my major. It was pretty much mindless work for the most part. It was pure labor, but I worked and I got my paycheck every week. We didn't get paid a week after we did our work. We got paid that Friday, which was also a blessing. So anyhow, I guess the reason why I did this, besides experimenting with a live, experimenting with doing live, I've never done one before, but also I want to celebrate, here we go, celebrate Labor Day and everybody involved in labor, whether you are an owner, an entrepreneur, you're a manager, you're a line worker, whatever. What we all do to make our nut, to make our money, regardless of how we do it, it's still labor. It's an exchange of energy transfer and it's exchange of value. Our time, our labor has value. Let's celebrate that. And I want to do this today because tomorrow I'm going to be on the road and I won't be barbecuing, won't be partying with anybody, but I want to get this out for you tonight. And maybe you can watch it tomorrow as well. But you know what? Take the time off, whether you're paid for the time off or not. Appreciate what you got. Be thankful for those around you that are involved, whether it's co-workers, managers, owners, whatever. We work together to get something done, to make a buck, but we also do it for meaning, and we also do it to support our local economy, our neighborhood, depending what you do for a living. Could be national, international. I've worked on all of those levels. But anyhow, I want to thank you for what you do because I too am a consumer. And have a great day tomorrow. So anyhow, this is Don out. And I hope this made sense to you. I wasn't scripted at all. Let's move on and have a great week. Take care.